everybody, my name's Amanda. I'm an actor and artist in Los Angeles, and today I'm going to be showing you how to do a concrete planter. It's great for outdoors, indoors, decorative, or you can plant things in it. Up to you, but they're pretty easy to make, so let's get started. You're gonna need a pair of gloves, which I'm gonna put mine on right now. Protect your skin. Grab a mask, I know everybody has those right now. And goggles. You definitely don't want to get any of this stuff into your eyes. So I've spread something out, just an old drop cloth that I have to protect the brick that I have underneath, but you can use anything. You can use an old towel, or if you just don't mind getting concrete everywhere, you don't have to put anything down. But grab some of this from the store. You can get it at any home goods store or hardware store. It's called Quickcrete. It's a fast drying cement and really easy to mix up small portions for these types of projects. You can get it for about $3 for a 50 or 60 pound bag. The buckets are a little more expensive, but I like using these buckets later. So grab yourself a small container. It doesn't have to be a bucket. It can be Tupperware or just something that you have in the house. And then one smaller container to go underneath, or inside, I'm sorry. And you can see right there, that's going to make the shape of our planter. It can be as small as a cup. You can place it somewhere unique, do a little bit of design, up to you. So take your cooking spray, spray the outside of the inner container, coat it really, really well. You're going to thank yourself later. And then coat the inside of the bucket or container that you're going to be using for the base unit. So we're going to be taking this and this apart later, so make sure this is nice and pliable. This is just an old popcorn bucket, and these are great because they bend really easily. And again, you'll thank me later when you've coated it nice and good. So we're going to mix up our cement. So let me put this container aside for now. I have something else, another popcorn container that I don't really care about because there is a chance it'll get ruined. But mix up your cement. You want to kind of go slow with your mixing, but in the end, it's going to end up being about 4 parts cement and 1 part water. So I go pretty slowly when I'm mixing. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put my mask on. All right, hopefully you can hear me all right. I'll speak up a little bit. But I'm just gonna add a little bit of water at a time. Take something to stir with. I use a paint stick. And just start stirring and go slow. And okay, it may not work right away. That's when you know you need a little bit more. It's gonna be about the consistency of a putty or a paste. So if it looks too dry, add a little more water. If it looks too wet, add a little more concrete. That's why it's great to get the big 50 or 60 pound bags, because then you have plenty if you need to be adding more if it's too liquidy. And I'm gonna do this in batches. I'm not gonna mix it all up at once. I like doing smaller amounts, but you can do whatever you're comfortable with. All right. Let me go ahead and finish that, and I'll show you guys the consistency in just a minute. And it does take some fine tuning, and that's okay. Take your time. And prepare to get dirty. All right. So if you look at the consistency here, it's very paste-like. It's very much like a putty. So that is right about the consistency that we want. So I'm gonna mix a few batches up to fill this bucket. We're not gonna fill it all the way, but remember, make sure your buckets are nice and coated. And especially if you're using small containers like Tupperware, makes it a lot easier and a lot quicker when you're mixing up the cement and when you're taking it all out. right, make sure it's spread real nice. And I'm going to finish my batch up. All right, now that our concrete is all mixed up, you'll see that I did not put it all the way to the top because I didn't want it to be quite that large. But I'm gonna get it set, and you do have to work a little quickly because this is quick setting cement, remember. So it's gonna be setting pretty quickly, and you don't want it to be too stiff when you're trying to mold it with the second tub. So I'm just gonna give this a quick spray again. All right, and then just very gently place it where you want to go, and then start working it in to make your shape for your planter. So it'll be a little oily, that's okay. All right, now to weigh it down, I grabbed some rocks from my garden, and you just want to do that so that it doesn't float up to the top, because it will push the concrete to the top, or push the container to the top rather. And we want it to be set really well. All right, so I have it weighed down, I have everything sprayed, and now we're gonna wait about 24 hours and come back to this tomorrow and see how it looks. So if you notice at any point in the process, when you check on it, just make sure that it hasn't risen too much, because then you wanna put some more rocks down and weight it so that it doesn't move too much. So we'll check back in about a day. All right, so I waited about 24 hours, and I'm going to try to pop this all apart now and see the planter that I've created. So for this step, I'm gonna put my gloves on, just in case there are any sharp spots or anything that breaks off. And also, same goes for the goggles, because if anything flies up in the air, you definitely don't want anything getting in your eye. So I'm gonna take the rocks out first. Looks like it weighted it down pretty well. All right, and remember, this is why you want to grease it really well ahead of time, and why you want something pliable, because there's a chance I have to break the inner or outer buckets, so also something that you don't care about that could get ruined potentially, but let's see if it worked. Breaking free from the sides, and popped out. All right, so I am going to start the process on the outside, and since mine is bigger, it's gonna take a little bit more work, and you can grab a little rubber mallet if you want to help get it loose, but I'm gonna work on that, and then as soon as I have popped this out, step. All right, so mine slid out pretty nicely. All right, so there's our planter. So the next step, if you want to leave it rough, you can, but I like having my edges a little bit smoother. So what I'm gonna do is take a little bit of sandpaper. This is 100 grit. It gets what I need, all the rough edges off, and gets it pretty smooth. But you can go with a rougher grain, not too rough because you don't want to take too much away, but you can also use a very fine grain to get it more polished looking. So as you can see under here, those darker spots aren't quite as dry, so I'm not going to sand that part right now, but later on I'll just take it on the sides too and just clean it up. If you're going to be doing a lot of aggressive sanding, just make sure that you wear a mask. You don't want any of that coming up into your lungs. So make sure you secure it tightly and start sanding. So I'm just doing a little bit to show you guys what this looks like. And you don't really need a power sander or a hand sander for this. Just your hands are fine, because you don't want to take too much away from it, and you don't want pieces to break off. So that's basically the edge we're gonna get in this part with this grit. But I'm gonna work at this for a little bit, and then I'll show you guys the final product. Now, when it's all done and you're done sanding and everything, you can just take a wet, like a paper towel or a regular towel, and just clean it nice and good, and it'll be ready to go. So let me finish sanding this and I'll show you the final product. All right, we are all set. It is complete. My planter is done. I sanded it the way that I like it, and it's a little rougher, which is my preference. But if you prefer it a little smoother, then obviously you're welcome to sand it as much as you want. Just again, beware of those spots that are a little darker until they're completely dry. Now, I did get very messy, but it's an easy cleanup. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this, and if you have any of that Tupperware laying around that you just haven't figured out what to do with, you don't know where to put it, make some planters. Especially if you have one of those bags of 50, 60 pound Quikrete, that's perfect for this because you can make a bunch of them. Very inexpensive, very simple, and fun, and I can't wait to put something in it and plant in my yard. Enjoy. See you next time.